Hey guys, it's Eddie, your Muay Thai tutor. Today I wanted to do a video on another strike, the kick, but due to not having the proper setup, I'm going to postpone that till this Friday, so stay posted. But I wanted to touch bases on another element. I would say 1 to 2/3 of the time when I'm working with someone new, a client, or someone who just joined the gym, for about the first 6 months, I have to stay on top of their breathing. And it's super easy to forget about breathing because, again, this is something that you guys have never done before. And you're either focusing on a mechanic within the technique, or the intent is to hit incredibly hard, so we're super tense or super focused, and we just forget to breathe. And it's really important. I can't stress enough how important breathing is. So that is going to be the basis and focus on this video. So enjoy. All right, so the first thing that people do wrong is kind of what my introduction explained, which is people will forget to breathe wrapped up and focus on the technique. So we'll use a cross, for instance. So the cross, there's a lot of different mechanics and components to doing the cross that we all have to do at the same time. It would be, stepping out, turning your foot, extending your hand, making sure that that left hand is up, leading with the first 2 knuckles, and making sure that that right shoulder is touching your chin. So, they'll throw the punch. Hey, bro, you forgot to lift up your left hand. So then, they'll go ahead and they'll do that. They didn't step out, so they don't have enough room to turn. Or they didn't turn their foot, far enough. So there's always something that's missing, and then there's that frustration. So then they're internalizing and they're focused on all these things, and the entire time, because you're so focused, you forget to breathe. So then, I'll tell them, hey, please breathe. And they'll breathe and they'll do something wrong, and they'll breathe for the first 3 strikes, but because they're doing something wrong, they go back to focusing on that mechanic. The other thing that they'll do within that repetition is while I'm asking for them to throw the technique, they're typically hitting a pad. So as they hit the pad, they want to use force and hit really hard. Sorry, I live next to an airport and I keep being interrupted. Proceed. So, as they're hitting really hard, they're throwing it really tense, and the whole time they're not breathing. So I got to interject and be like, hey, please relax, shake it off, think of this as a really fast push, and just breathe. So they'll do it for a couple of times, and again, it's repetition. You guys have never done this before, so don't be so hard on yourself. So yeah, breathe. All right, so if you don't know what's going on, let me adjust the camera. If you don't know what's going on, I got this B who's just in love with me. And he's already rudely interrupted my videos like 10 times. At this point, I'm just going to go with it. So if you see me spaz out or freak out, it's because there's a B. I actually held it. Check out my Facebook video. I'll explain this all later. But the second thing that people tend to do wrong is they'll breathe too much. And what I mean by breathing too much is they'll waste one whole breath on one technique. So, I'll be working with a person and, I'll tell them that they're not breathing. I'll shed light on that. And then, they're conscious of it, and then they start to breathe. But then they'll use one whole breath on one technique. Meaning, they'll throw the jab, whoo, one whole breath. They'll breathe in, whoo, one whole breath, etc., etc. And, in the beginning, this will be okay because, it's progress. We're breathing. But as I start to throw combinations, I'll ask for a 4-punch combo, ha, 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 ha. And the whole time, they're taking a whole breath in between. And the longer the round is, or the more punches I ask, the more tiring this will be. Again, why? Because you're hyperventilating and you're overusing your breath or not managing your breath properly. The best analogy that I can come up with for proper breathing is jogging or running. This is a marathon, or even if this was a sprint, you're breathing. And even when you're doing it, you're not even conscious of your breathing. You're doing it appropriately. So, if I'm bouncing up and down, or even while I'm talking, I'm inhaling and exhaling appropriately where I'm not out of breath. I'm doing what my body needs. Or even if I'm doing a hard sprint, ha, and then I breathe, right? So I explode, hoo, the whole time I'm exhaling, and then when I need to, inhale. It's going to be the same thing. So the way that I like to explain breathing is probably making a shushing noise or like a snake noise. And you'll see a lot of fighters do this, and a lot of times people won't breathe because they feel self-conscious or silly of the way that they're breathing. But, you know, as soon as I put it into terms as far as that it's probably the most economical way of continuing forward with the technique where they don't tire themselves out, then they'll get kind of used to it. The more advanced you get and the more comfortable you are with breathing loudly and appropriately, then you start getting into the way that you breathe as far as like the noise that you make. So I used to have these long, super awkward conversations with my trainer. My trainer's from Thailand, broken English. His name is Santi. Fought in Lumpini, has over 100, 200 fights. Has fought in Koban. Love the man. He's like a second father to me. And we would start training, and as I would breathe appropriately, but I would do the shh noise. And you know, the more powerful you throw a punch, the more loud or more oxygen you would need to expel. So, you know, as I throw a combination, and I used to not breathe like that. I used to do the shushing noise, and we would have these conversations as far as like making the and you know, it's an explosive, controlled exhale. So, you know, I'm flexing my core, and as I need to breathe, it's almost as if I can't breathe. And then as the punch comes out, and I still have breath left over. And it's important as far as the sounds that you make. As far as, you know, I like to explain it, you know, an AH, an ah, will tend to alleviate more oxygen than needed. And an EH noise, an eh, will tend to cut the breath off. And obviously the harder the punch, the louder the E will become. So, you know, and I can still tend to do an A, but again, I'm really conscious of as soon as I'm done with a punch or strike, I'm immediately cutting off the noise. Why? Because I want to conserve as much oxygen as possible, or as economically as possible. And that's off one breath, and I fired off, you know, a forward punch combination, followed it with a power punch, etc. I'm pretty sure that's all that I have to discuss as far as breathing. So, again, guys, if you guys are doing this, whether you're throwing a punch, a jab, a cross, remember to breathe. Remember to breathe comfortably as you strike out. And then breathe in as appropriately. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. I will have another video out for you guys on Friday. Please like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, thank you. Spread word. You guys have a nice day. Spread it out.